welcome to The Stiff Truth. I'm Bob West.
Nice.
And I am here today with, as usual, Scott Casanova. And we are here to offer a tickling sensation to your ears.
Ooh.
A tantalizing tidbit. Technology. So, alliteration aside. How you doing, Scott?
I am doing great. And man, I was getting pretty excited with that intro too. I felt like maybe getting a pillow and kind of, sitting on the floor, the pillow kind of on my stomach with my feet up, kind of like with the Bugs Bunny kind of look, you know what I mean, going on.
You're like, just read me some Harry Potter.
It's story time, Bobby. It's story time. I'm doing great, man. We're in May. It's gonna be May. Here we are. What is it? May 2nd? I can't remember.
It is May 2nd.
Good stuff. Yeah, can't complain. It's getting nice up here in Denver periodically. Like yesterday it was like 85. Today it's like 78. Tomorrow it's going to be like 40 degrees and like rain and snow mixture. But that's okay. We are pretty much officially out of the woodwork when it comes to the really shit weather up here. You guys are always, what, 10, 20 degrees warmer usually? How are things going down there with the weather? Pretty hot already?
I woke up this morning and checked my phone because I had to see where Doge was, of course.
Naturally.
And in doing that, on my way to the Doge, I saw that it was 57 degrees at like 7 a.m. So that's pretty nice way to wake up. Right now, it looks like we're right around 70s. Oh, 79. 79. So it's kind of like hammock weather out there as long as you're in the shade.
That sounds nice. There's like, I have a neighbor with like these gigantic pine trees in their front yard. Like they're so fucking big. There's no sunlight that touches like their front yard, but it just looks so inviting when it's warm out there because it's perfect. It's perfect. I don't know why I said that, but I always think about having a hammock between those two giant pine trees. Oh man, that sounds relaxing. I'm getting tired. So
it sounds like you need to plant you some pine trees.
Yeah, well, I did try planting some trees a while ago, and my fucking dog just ate the roots, so there's that. So I think we tried like 2 or 3 trees in the backyard, and after he ate like all 3 of the, pretty much like the bottom of the, tree trunk? Yeah, like a trunk. Yeah. Is that what we're gonna call that? Like the base? Sure.
Yeah,
right?
like a trunk.
But I'm telling you, man, without being nonsensical here, I'm getting warmed up for Cinco de Mayo. I know we're 3 days off still, but I am really, really feeling this Mexican holiday, which, is pretty interesting to me. Did you know that Cinco de Mayo is more celebrated in America than it is in Mexico? And it became like a really big money maker in the 1980s, just when they started really ramping up a lot of like ad campaigns for beer and other kind of celebratory party type stuff. Hence all the celebration. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I've only been to Mexico one time, so I don't lead this globe-trotting lifestyle anymore. I put it behind me. But I can say I've always enjoyed Cinco de Mayo. It's always been a good reason to drink tequila. I love Mexican food. I love having the was it the siesta, the party?
Yeah.
Siesta?
Sure. Or fiesta. I think it's
fiesta. Siesta is the nap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love having that too. So I love having the fiesta, right? But I do love Cinco de Mayo, and it's always something that's fun. It for me, it always signals like summer's coming, right?
100%.
It's that holiday. School's almost out. For the children, for those that are in high school, whatever, for regular school. And it's time to kind of kick off the summer. I know that Memorial Day is kind of that way too, but for me, Cinco de Mayo is kind of the end. Spring is ending. It's time to start moving into camping season. Let's start getting into the summer and moving forward.
100%. I think I like what you said there too, because Memorial Day is kind of like, that's like the real introduction to summertime, but this is kind of like I guess it's the first. Let's party and have some drinks. Because what is it? Cinco de Mayo's on a Wednesday this month or this year. Perfect. You know what I mean? Nothing like, hey, taking a quick pause. It's fucking Cinco de Mayo. Let's go have some drinks. It's noon on a Wednesday. Exactly. I have an excuse right now. Speaking of which, Bob, I don't know if you'd happen to have just a shot of tequila sitting around, would you?
Let me look around.
Do you check under your desk?
Oh,
it's usually under your desk.
Found one.
Why don't we just have a little pre Cinco de Mayo cheers here?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get ready. I gotta salt up. I gotta do it the way. Okay, ready?
Okay. Yep, I'm ready.
All right. Cheers, Mexico.
Cheers, Mexico. That is what's up. Now, Bob, we talked about this pre-show. That was my first experience with the higher end Costco tequila. Pretty damn good.
Nice. Have a good flavor to it. I've been wanting to get the añejo, the new Kirkland's. So
that's what we got over here. And
we're all ears. Like, please describe it.
It's got a very, 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 very refined aftertaste versus your Blanco.
Does it have like a casky or a woody kind of aftertaste? Because the añejo, it's aged much more, so it sits in the barrel longer.
Yeah, it is kind of the whiskey of the tequilas. You know what I mean? In that kind of sense, it's good stuff, bro. Can't really complain at all.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain time period of if your stuff is aged, too long, it's not silver tequila anymore, right? There's a certain time period that turns it into like gold tequila, and then there's a certain time period that turns it into añejo, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but if from recall is what I'm thinking that difference is. So,
well, I'm not even going to fact check you
because I'm pretty sure that silver tequila is something that you can make like right away, and it takes virtually no distilling and no aging. It's just like right away. You distill it, you drink it, right? Versus the gold tequila is actually distilled and then aged for a while, right? And then the añejo is, of course, like I think there's a certain amount of years it's got.
Not even going to question you. It's so much more fun just to take everything as is. You know what I mean?
I do. Now let's go vote.
Rich and compelling stuff. Well, I'll tell you what. Another thing that was really nice this past week too. I know you didn't really get to participate much, but you do usually watch the NFL draft. At least, let's just face it, at least the first round or two is pretty fucking entertaining. And that's like where the high stake players are going typically. Wrapping up like yesterday, for like fifth, sixth round, that kind of stuff, whatever. I mean, that's where it really loses its luster. And you're really just listening to people commentating about what happened in the earlier rounds. Why people are, who is Mr. Irrelevant this year? I didn't even.
That's a great question. I didn't even look. Let's see. That would be Grant Stewart, a linebacker from BYU. It looks like
there he is, Grant Stewart.
Going to the Buccaneers.
Not Stewart, like you may all be thinking, but Steward,
as in a good steward of the last pick of the draft.
Just good enough not to stay in college, I guess, for another year. And I don't know, has Mr. Irrelevant, and this is just a random, again, I'm just going to take you for your word. I'm not even going to fact check it because that's how we're going to play it right now. Has Mr. Irrelevant in any year ever ended up being somebody that's like an all-star player in the NFL? Has that ever happened by your recollection?
I don't remember my recollection, but I do know that there's been some Super Bowl champs
that were Mr. Irrelevant. When you say Super Bowl champs, do you mean they just ended up by shit's luck being on the team that won the Super Bowl, and then they look back and they're like, oh, by the way, that guy was Mr. Irrelevant. Now he's got a Super Bowl ring.
All right, here we go. Tyrone Mcgriff Sr. was perhaps the most successful Mr. Irrelevant from the pre-1994 era. He was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers and was the last pick of the 12th round in 1980. Shit. So he was super Mr. Irrelevant.
Wow.
He made the 1980 NFL All-Rookie team and played 2 more seasons for the Steelers.
Wait, so he played 3 seasons.
Best Mr. Irrelevance. I'm kind of looking at this. Ryan Suckup, the kicker.
Hey, he still plays, doesn't he?
I think he does.
Interesting. Well,
I don't really see too many other names on here that are going to make us be like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. He was insane.
Well, and just so everybody knows, this is the long-awaited first part of the 12-part series of the 2021 NFL Draft. So pretty much this entire episode is just going to be about the Jaguars and centered around Trevor Lawrence.
Well, we're just going to cover round 1 today. We'll see you guys back next week for round 2.
Dude, our listenership is going to just fucking explode, bro. It's going to be the new Doge. But no, let's seriously, let's talk about the highlights here, man, because again, I know you didn't really get to participate much. Bob like did this weird thing, like he had this weird schooling kind of graduation ceremonial thing that people do when they put in a lot of hard work. Whatever, Bob. Beyond that, what do you think about the Jags? I want to talk about the Jags here because let's face it, I love the way the draft is set up, and in any professional sports team, the team that was the shittiest obviously gets the cream of the crop so they can kind of balance things out and be competitors moving forward. Do you think they did a good job meeting the Jaguars this year with that opportunity?
Well, maybe I'm not all that sold on Trevor Lawrence as an NFL quarterback myself. If it were me personally running the team, I probably would have traded that pick for the King's ransom and went after someone else. But
interesting.
I think there was other quarterbacks that you could have scooped up later in the draft that would have been, serviceable and had a healthy quarterback competition with Gardner Minshew and some of your younger talent. And I think it's more important to build a team around a young quarterback first, but I understand why Urban Meyer is the new first-time NFL coach or a new coach for the Jags. And by all accounts, one of the most successful coaches in football history, not just college, just in general. Like, he's a good coach and he'll probably do well in the NFL. So to go ahead and get your young stud quarterback and move forward with him, I can see how that if that's part of your game plan or whatever, that's fine. So I think the plan is to get him and start building around him, kind of like the Cowboys did back in the day when they got Troy Aikman. Right there, 1-15. They picked up Troy Aikman. A couple years later, they got Emmitt Smith, and then like the next year they got Michael Irvin, and then a bunch of linemen. Right. I think that it'll be okay there. I'm interested to see because the Jaguars are already one of the must-sees of the 2021 season, right? So first-time coach, guy said he was never going to coach again after the Ohio, domestic violence overlooking debacle that, made him leave Ohio, and he got canceled out of there. And then said he wasn't going to coach anymore. Then now he's, taking the job with the Jags. He's gotten a stud quarterback from college. Let's see if that pans out. And then now I read the article 2 days ago that Tim Tebow is trying to be a tight end for the Jags.
Can I say this? Well, I know I can. Let me say this. How about I rephrase that? Perchance the position he should have always been in, like literally, like after college, wasn't he pushed numerous times to try to hey, you should be a fullback, you should be a running back, you should be a tight end. He's like, no, I want to play quarterback. That's what I always wanted to do. Baby Jesus told me I could. No.
Well, the second that it was clear that he was no longer going to be able to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, he should have then switched his position.
Yeah, because he's a super jacked, athletic kid with a lot of heart and
he's
lot
a
of
freak,
fire.
Man. He's a freak show.
Yeah.
I mean, dude is just fast, strong, big, durable, makes good decisions. One of the better running quarterbacks that we ever saw, right?
He did a nice little thing for the Broncos a few years back too. Well, that's more than a few years back now. You know what I mean?
Very hard to tackle because he's just got that low center of gravity and that powerful legs. Tim Tebow, to watch play football was awesome as a football player. It was terrible as a quarterback coach, but as just watching him play football, incredible football player. So for him to not transfer those football skills onto another position so that he could stay on the field, because having him on the field is better than not having him on the field. And he could have played, man, there's probably half a dozen positions that he could play on either side of the ball. He could have been a linebacker. He could have been a safety. He could have been a receiver, tight end, halfback. Like he could have been so many different things. And that's crazy to think about that.
Yeah. It's also crazy to think that he was that one-tracked minded that he just couldn't give up until he was completely defeated, meaning like there was no opportunity at all that anybody was ever going to pick him up again as a quarterback.
Well,
but
and
he sure tried.
He's such a freak athlete that he went over and he's just like, I'm going to play baseball professionally. And he got up to AAA where he's like playing now, like AAA ball, one call away from going to the show. Like he is just a freak athlete. Right. And so I'm glad that he's going to get back on the football field. And I think the spectacle of it, the advertisers, I mean, let's face it, he's a marketing wet dream, right? Because he's a good old American boy, doesn't swear, doesn't get trouble, very religious Southern boy, like Tim Tebow. Everyone loves Tim Tebow, so I think the Jags are a must-see TV. As a second pick, the Jets picked up a quarterback. Because they just kicked their last, third pick quarterback to the curb, and now they're going to try another one. So it'll be interesting to see that because has there been a better dumpster fire in the NFL in the last 30 years than the New York Jets?
No, there really hasn't. I think that takes the cake right there. And I wasn't surprised. Obviously, they picked up another quarterback, but Zach Wilson from BYU, I don't know. I mean, I thought there was at least another two or three candidates that I probably would have went with if I was them. But we'll see what happens because who'd they just train? Where did he go?
Sam Darnold?
Yeah, Sam
Darnold went to Carolina, I believe.
Carolina, and Bridgewater went to the Broncos.
Yes, yep, correct.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Trey Lance, he went third to San Francisco. How do you think San Francisco did? They seem to really kind of, I think they did a pretty good job in the draft. I mean,
well, San Francisco's kind of like the Colts, right? They're just a really balanced, good football team at most parts of the game. I think Garoppolo was even doing fine for them. He just couldn't seem to stay on the field, right? And
stay healthy, yeah.
And that's kind of been his whole career. Yeah, he didn't get hurt his first few years because he didn't play. but ever since he started, starting, I don't think he's played a whole season. Which is weird for quarterbacks because quarterbacks are trained to get rid of the ball and not take hits that end their season, right? That it's better to punt than end your season. So the fact that he can't stay on the field is kind of interesting. But it looks like they're moving away from him. Obviously, they got a third pick. So Garoppolo's contract's going to be up in the next year or two no matter what. So either they trade him or he just walks away in a couple of years and Lance takes over the signal caller duties there. But I think they're going to be fine just because that core Niners team is good. They center it around defense and the running game. Mm-hmm. And that's great for a young quarterback. So I hope he gets a shot. I like to see young quarterbacks come in and get an opportunity right away.
Yeah. Who do you think had the best come up on just on quarterback in general? I mean, you could say here, okay, first overall pick or the first three. There's about I would say there's 4 or 5 really good quarterbacks in the draft. I think Chicago Bears came up the most. That's my personal opinion.
It's either the Bears, as far as value picks and return on investment, right? Some ROI. It's either going to be the Bears or the Patriots that are going to score here.
That motherfucker. You know what? I was really fucking surprised that Mac Jones was available at 15 and that the Patriots just happened to pick him up. I was like, dude, literally, they still have a former MVP in Cam Newton that signed another 1-year contract. Now they literally they probably just picked up, and I don't think it's a stretch saying the next franchise quarterback in Mac Jones either. So interesting. Yeah.
No, by all accounts, and that system that they run in Alabama is very, very pro-like. It involves reading defenses. It involves reading the defense off of the snap of the ball and looking at your first, second, third option and running down the option list there, just like pros do. I mean, there's many college quarterbacks that look for first option and then take off running. That's just kind of how it is. Or check down right away. It's first option, check down or run. And that's not what Mac Jones does. That's not how Alabama runs their offense. So I think as far as that goes, they're going to they've got a really potential there, a really good potential there of Mac Jones being a beast for them.
Yeah.
So especially for a number 15 pick.
That's crazy, dude. I really think that I thought Mac Jones was going to be one of the first three gone. That's what I honestly thought. I was surprised. I was surprised him and Fields were both after the 10th pick. You know what I mean? To me, and now granted, there was some teams that had picks in the first 10 that didn't need to really waste it, so to speak, on a quarterback because they're already set up. But I mean, there's still a lot of teams that weren't. I mean, let's see. Denver picked up Pat Surtain.
That's a great pickup.
That is a great pickup.
That might be the best defensive player of the draft.
Yeah. Well, and you can argue too that why would you get a quarterback when you got Drew Lock? But then you could also argue we need a quarterback. We have Drew Lock.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. No, that's why you'd get a quarterback. I mean, Drew Lock, he might be the type of quarterback that ends up starting and being a good quarterback, maybe like a Jake Delhomme, right? A good starting quarterback for your franchise will protect your game, get you in the playoffs.
Holy shit, I haven't heard that name in a long time. That was so familiar to me. It was weird. I was like, Jake Delhomme, who the fuck is that? And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, man, he used to be a good quarterback for the Panthers.
Good quarterback, right?
That's reaching back to what, early 2000s? I want to say
late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, Jake Delhomme. Daylight coming. You got a Delhomme.
Jake Delhomme was a good quarterback. Wasn't a great quarterback. But you put Jake Delhomme on some of the teams today, like you put Jake Delhomme in Washington, they're winning that division. You know what I mean? Like right now.
I mean, he's a step up from Fitzpatrick. So, I mean, there you go.
Only every third game.
Yeah.
Like every third game, Fitzpatrick's going to light it up for 5 TDs and 400 yards. Seriously. But then he's going to throw 5 picks, 180 yards and get benched. But then he'll come back.
I feel like having Ryan Fitzpatrick is like being in a relationship with a really, really horrible alcoholic or something like that. You know what I mean? They come in one time, they got a good buzz and they're fire on all cylinders. They're just everything's just falling into place. The next day, they're day drinking again and they're sloppy. They're falling all over the place, or you know what I mean? They're drunk texting and stuff like that. They're just and then the next day you're like, who were you yesterday? Who are you? I don't even know who you are anymore. And then he just when you're about to get rid of him, he comes back, another one just firing on all cylinders. I don't know. It's interesting.
Did you,
no, I did not.
Did you see, I read an article yesterday that was interesting. About our old buddy, Michael Vick, right?
Great friend of the show. Great friend of the show, actually.
Outside of the illegal dog fighting, Michael Vick, great quarterback, and one of the most memorable electric NFL players of the last 30 years to watch.
100%. Yeah. When he played for the Falcons, probably some of the most entertaining games I've seen in my life.
Yeah. Insane. I mean, he almost single-handedly took that team to the Super Bowl in Lambeau in the snow. I mean, he barely lost that game and probably would have won the Super Bowl had he have gone that year instead of Green Bay. But Michael Vick ran a 4.740 a couple of days ago at 40 years old. And his reaction after was, I guess I can't run anymore.
Yeah, that's obviously what that means,
And I'm like, yeah, tell that to 90% of the quarterbacks in the NFL that are slower than that.
Oh my goodness.
So it would be interesting if a team was really needing a quarterback and gave old Mike Vick a call.
Why not? Hey, he's got experience. You know what I mean? He's old. This is one of those things. I could see Washington bringing him back for a year contract. If Fitzpatrick shits the bed.
They love aging quarterbacks in Washington.
They really do. They're all, hey, McNabb should retire. We should pay a ridiculous amount for him right now. Perfect.
Who should we get? Who's getting old?
Mark Burnell.
Alex Smith. Let's get him. How many years he got left? Maybe 2 or 3? Let's get him.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, let's trade our next 4 years of draft picks for. Hey, what can I say? When Schneider's at the helm, magic happens usually. And
I can't say much, man. I'm a Cowboys fan, so it's just all about, hey, who can score the most touchdowns? Shouldn't you try to stop them from scoring? Oh, hell, man, as long as it sells tickets. Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Well, I will say this, though. Obviously, the owners were not involved in the draft this year, but you guys stacked up your defense, and so did Washington, apparently. I think both good moves. Both pretty good moves. I think we got like a tight end in there to replace Jeremy Sprinkle, who was like our second string tight end that I guess was promoted to first, to a starter. But other than that, I think everybody else's defense on Washington. Same with you, right? I think you guys have like one offensive lineman, the rest is all defense or something like that.
Well, which is great because they had a historically bad defense last year.
Oh, like one of the worst in history of the NFL.
Yeah, in fact, for like 6 weeks, they were the worst.
You guys were
last
breaking
year. They
records.
had a good six week run of like the worst defense in NFL history. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know if that's since the merger. That's all the way back, but their defense, they did that Olay style defense where they just kind of let the offense go.
It's a real trickery. It's like, when you expect them to hit you and they don't, that really throws you a loop. You don't know what to do when that happens.
Right? I'm just going to move out of the way and he'll fall down because he'll be ready for the hit.
He's not going to know what doesn't hit him. You know what I mean?
Right. And then Sean Lee's over there like, hold my cane. I'm going to go make this tackle.
Oh, poor guy. Well, a couple of things just about the draft here. Furthermore here, I know we got to still analyze all the other rounds besides round one, but in all seriousness, it was really cool to see that it was actually back in action live in person. I don't know if you watched any of the tape. Pretty big crowd in Cleveland for it, and it was really cool to see that. They had mentioned too that the entire crowd, I don't know how you verified this, but was certified, vaccinated, including everybody on the stage too. So you had, a lot of hugs and kisses from Goodell and everything. That was a big no-no last year. But I always find it interesting. I found this pretty interesting too. Trevor Lawrence, he wasn't there in person. He knew he was going to be the number one overall pick. You just kind of know these things sometimes on certain years. It's pretty evident, right? Almost every year who's going to be number one. I really wonder, because I'm just watching reactions of these players when they were called and everything. Do you think some of these guys are like super grateful that, yeah, obviously they're getting signed with the NFL team, but they really, really just don't like the fucking team, but it's not like they can complain about it. I was watching some of the reactions from some of these kids, and I was like, you know what? I bet you he does not want to be a New York Jet.
Look at the first 5 picks, right?
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence with the Jags. I'm sorry, buddy. Zach Wilson with the Jets. Dude, your career's probably over. Right? Trey Lance, great position with the 49ers.
Yeah, he got
solid
lucky.
Team. They don't have that pick because they're a terrible team. They got that pick for whatever reason.
Kyle
Pitts
right?
with the Falcons. You get to play with a, I don't know, potential Hall of Fame quarterback. This is a great pick, for them, and he gets to go and have a chance to excel. Jamar Chase gets to go with Burrow, right? Which last year he basically showed that he's going to be a good quarterback. So that's a pretty good spot for him to be in. But half of those picks there are terrible. I mean, there's another wide receiver going to the Dolphins, an offensive lineman going to the Lions. Like, that sucks. That's the bad thing about the draft, is the best players go to the worst teams, which some of those teams are perennial bad teams, like the Jets, like the Jags, like the Lions.
I know. So, I bet you there is an element of having to cope with being picked for the Jets. Like, on camera, you're like, "Yay, hugs! Yeah, that's so fun." And then the camera pans off. You're like, "Fuck, son of a bitch!" Like you were saying, my career's already over. Like, I need to get. You just got to pull like a. Who the fuck did this? He did it too. God. Eli Manning. Remember, he got drafted.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I ain't playing for the Chargers. Nope.
Fuck that. It's like, is he like the only player in history that's like got drafted and like demanded he go to not just a different team, a different conference? He's like, no, not happening. I thought that was interesting, but I'm surprised that more players don't do that. They're like, fucking, we've got a mutiny here. This guy's not coming. You're gonna keep calling the guy's name. He's like hiding underneath his chair. Oh my God. But again, we're splitting hairs here. Are you really going to complain about having a potential multi-million-dollar career in the NFL? Probably not.
No, I mean, not for rookies. I'm sure that like after that first contract's there, they're trying to shape their next contract in a way that they can have an exit strategy, right?
Sure.
So you want that rookie contract, you get the first pick. There's an X amount of dollars that those top tier picks always get in every sport. So he's going to enjoy his money. He does get to go learn at the professional level, play at professional speeds, and gets to excel. And, you know, if Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson can actually like do good and get those teams into the playoffs, he'll be forever revered in those towns, right? Whoever takes the Jets to a Super Bowl will never buy a drink in New York for the rest of their life because they've just been the biggest dumpster fire in probably all of professional sports.
Wow, that's pretty heavy, but that's not an outrageous claim either. And you know what? I was again just joking around here with Zach. You could say to a lot of like these players too that potentially go to really shitty teams, like, oh, well, at least they get to learn behind this quarterback or something like that. The Jets really don't even have that opportunity this year either. I'm thinking like who's like their depth chart, like who's on their roster right now for QB, like besides the rookie. I don't even know. They got rid of Darnold. They got rid of. I can't really think of it like, well, who was the last person that was now? Jesus, Mark Sanchez hasn't been there for a long time either. But yeah, that's another horror story too. He was another really high draft pick, wasn't he? Sanchez?
I think he was like a third overall pick.
They had a lot of hope for that guy. Remember how much they used to build him up? He came out of the gates with like fucking contracts for advertising and stuff like that. Like he was just out of the gate already. Like RG3 did the same thing. He already had like a Reebok and a fucking Gatorade contract as soon as like the draft happened. And both those guys shit the bed. Really
well,
bad.
I mean, to be fair, he went to back-to-back AFC championship games. But then the butt fumble happened. And once the butt fumble happened, the dude's career was over.
Well, you know what? I will say this. He is a good sport when it comes to that, because not very long ago, Washington, believe it or not, I know this is strange, but Washington having a little bit of trouble at the QB depth charts a couple years ago and brought in Sanchez to play. But they had a pretty lengthy interview with him just talking about, you're playing for Washington. So come on, seriously, let's talk about the butt fumble. Let's talk about that. And then they had to show the replay like, 10 times. But he laughs about it now, It's pretty embarrassing when you watch it. But I bet you in action or whatever, it wasn't that much of a blunder, like a blooper, like it looks like. But still, you can't live that shit down, man. You cannot live that shit down.
Right. And it's similar to the Tony Romo mishandled extra point, right? That cost them that playoff game. And he never handled an extra point again after that play, the rest of his career.
Well, I'll tell you what, I won't say that he, wasn't a great quarterback. Romo was a great stats. He probably leads the charts in a lot of Cowboys stuff, I would imagine. I mean, he's got records, but man, so much better of a commentator, man. That guy really found his own in the commentating world. He's doing great. I really like it. We already talked about that though. One more thing about football, then we can move on if you'd like, but what do you think about this Aaron Rodgers bonanza right now, this drama? I mean,
we have to talk about it, right? So basically, last year, Aaron Rodgers was basically, I guess, trying to lobby for support, right? Give me weapons on offense so I can do something, right? Because they'd been running a patchwork, running game with Williams and I forget the other guy, and then they finally got Aaron Jones,
who's and Jamal Williams,
right. But he's still running for his life, so they need to shore up some line. They have Devontae Adams, but that's about all they have for receiver or tight end, right? So he's looking for more weapons and to beef up their team. And last year with their first round pick, they drafted quarterback.
Yeah, that doesn't send a good message to their franchise quarterback.
So, how does Aaron Rodgers take it? Well, he has the best year of his career, wins the MVP, and says after the season is over that I'm not coming back. Well, they had been sending people to his house all offseason to try to convince him to come back. I read an article just the other day that said he'd rather retire than play another game for Green Bay.
I would say that statement's a little hard to read between the lines, so to speak. Well, he didn't really mean that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty black and white, so to speak. So it is interesting because literally, when you had text me, I believe yesterday, or was it Friday? No, it was Friday, right? When you said, "Hey, I think
he's going to the Broncos."
Yeah, he's going to the Broncos. I initially like run upstairs. I'm like, Jamie, Aaron Rodgers is a Bronco? She's like, no way. I was like, damn. And then I did a little bit more due diligence, and obviously they're trying really hard. I mean, they no wonder after I watched the completion of the draft, they didn't even bother either entertaining.
They basically drafted people to give him weapons, just like he was asking for.
Yeah. He's like, hey, if Green Bay's not going to do it in the draft, we will. Come on over to the Mile. Come on over to the Mile High City, buddy. You want to come out west?
This is the land of quarterbacks. Come on.
Yeah. It's like, hey, every time a notable quarter comes out here, they usually win a Super Bowl. Just saying. You know, it happened not too recently with Peyton Manning too. So yeah, no, that would be interesting. That would immediately be a shot in the arm, but I just don't know, man. I mean, I know he wants to go out west. We were talking about it, prior to the show too. We really don't have a lot of candidates where it would make sense. He's not going to go to Los Angeles. He's not going to go to, I heard he's not going to go to San Francisco. Especially
it looked like San Francisco. They said no. Green Bay said no, just outright. We're not going to deal with you. And so they gave up and moved on outside of the plan. Whereas Denver, they said no and they didn't accept the trade. Denver went ahead and keep moving forward like they're going to get that trade.
Yeah, that's yeah. So it'll be interesting because out of everybody that they talked about, because I watched ESPN a little bit this morning too, and they were talking about it. You got the Las Vegas Raiders, which is still weird for me to say, but it's kind of fun. You got the Raiders, and Seattle. They were saying too, which we talked about earlier, makes a lot of sense. It's kind
checks
of like,
some boxes for eeach team.
It really does, and it's kind of like a clean slate for each quarterback. Not trying to downplay Aaron Rodgers or anything like that, but I can't do that to Russell Wilson either. He's a fucking elite quarterback, dude. So, I mean, just swapping those two guys, maybe having a couple of draft picks in the work or something like that too with the deal, that seems like a pretty solid deal on both ends of the table. Even though I was scratching my head initially when I heard that, I was like, wow, they wouldn't give up. But I was like, wait a minute. No, it's not really them giving up. Russell Wilson has expressed interest to leave Seattle as well.
Yeah, and skill set wise, they're almost the same quarterback.
They're fantastic.
In fact, I think Russell Wilson's a little bit more accurate throwing deep balls on the run than Aaron Rodgers is, which is crazy to say because he's probably the only one in the league that has that over him. But they're both mobile quarterbacks. They both make plays happen. They both extend the play for several seconds. So, I mean, they're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks, in my opinion. So you're trading one for one. You might not even have to work out anything except for some cost differences between individual contract numbers for cap reasons. I mean, that's about a pretty clean trade. You could probably swap them straight out and no one would be too disappointed.
Yeah, and I don't think that Aaron Rodgers would have a hard time meshing with Pete Carroll. He seems to be like the people's coach anyways, you know what I mean? So I don't think he would be a hard transition for him.
No, I think he'd pretty much handed the keys to the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you not to someone of that caliber? You just kind of let him go. And like, obviously you make great decisions on the field. So I'll just worry about the defense.
It'll be interesting. I don't know what's your if you had to make a wager here, what would you say would be the timeline before we find out what's definitely going on with Aaron Rodgers?
Well, so the interesting thing about this is the timing of it all, right? Aaron Rodgers could have said all this shit like a couple weeks after the season when he was already pretty clear that he wasn't going to come back with management, right?
But then that would have happened in the draft, you know?
That would have given a couple of things, right? That would have given the management more time to fuck him over and send his ass to Miami or something, right? Seriously.
Send your ass to the Jets. It's like
right. Exactly. Before the draft. But since he waited until like the day before the draft to mention anything, he did two things. He limited the capability of having the Packers create a bidding war because he limited the time frame of teams having to come because teams had to implement their plan for the next season, right? And so that was pretty smart of him. So in a league that really doesn't give players much power in the negotiation, I think he leveraged as much power with the timing of releasing that statement and letting this story out that he could, and basically giving him more keys to kind of drive his future. So now he can just say, I want these teams, and these teams can kind of go get it. Because let's be honest, at this point, the night before the draft, there's not 32 teams in the NFL that have a position to try to make a play on Aaron Rodgers, right? There's probably half a dozen, maybe 10 that could even try to do anything, but they have drastically, they need to address these drastic needs in their teams, where then half of those teams probably can't feasibly bring him into their plan. Right. Yeah. So I think it was very smart of him to release this at the timing. As much like Aaron Rodgers' dick as Matt LaFleur was sucking, the last couple of days, I don't think that feeling is mutual, because Aaron Rodgers has done nothing but talk shit about Matt LaFleur since the day it was announced that he was going to be the coach. So yeah, I think it's interesting. And my gut feeling says that he is going to be a Bronco. I think that they're so desperately wanting a quarterback that can guide that team that they'll give up their future to get him.
Makes sense. And you know what? It would do nothing but just make the fan base here in Denver fucking just go fucking nuts in a great way. They're a pretty passionate group of fans, and it'll be a repeat of the Manning era with the overall excitement in the city too. So I think it could be a win-win in that respect. It'll be interesting. I give it like another couple of weeks or so before I think we have a determination.
We'll know something soon, because I think he's going to, Aaron Rodgers, by the way, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get more and more vicious with his sentiment and the press statements that he's releasing about how he's not going to return. And they're going to be left with no choice, because he really can. He can do like Le'Veon Bell and just sit it out. Like he said that he would pay the $23 million back in his signing bonus to retire than before he'd come back and play. He would pay $23 million to not play for them, which tells me that he will not be a Packer next year, no matter what.
It sounds like he's done with the Packers. Yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely. I think they've had enough, and probably from his lens too. Like, dude, this something in that organization, in the front office or whatever, just the theory of running this team doesn't seem to be meshing with his, because they won a Super Bowl with them, and then it's always like almost but not enough, like every single year after. And I think it's got to a tipping point with his frustration. You know what I mean? Dude wants to win another Super Bowl. That's for damn sure.
He's like probably a top 3 quarterback, right, in the league, 100%. And has been for a decade. And for 10 years, he's been asking for help. And he's been getting them to the playoffs and trying to win a Super Bowl without help and without cooperation from the management. And I think he's just fucking done. And the one of the final straws, it goes back before they even drafted the quarterback last year. They didn't ask for his input on selecting their new head coach. That was the first time that the management was really rubbing him the wrong way, that he was open about it. Because I'm sure he'd been disappointed with the drafts up until that point. But then he said openly, like, I'm disappointed that they didn't come and ask for my opinion when they were looking for a coach. Right? Because, he's their on-field coach. He should probably have a say. They need a good working relationship. And they went with LaFleur, and he didn't want that pick, and he got stuck with it. And then this last quarterback thing, and he's done. And that's okay. In business and work, we get done. We need to move on. We need to find other jobs. We need to get a different employer. That just happens. Sometimes, you grow apart, or you need something else, or you need a change. And it sounds like he's past that point. I think him needing a change was probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. It's time. Well, we'll see. It's exciting because I love them. I love the player. I'll tell you that. He's another exciting player to watch. Talk about somebody that when Aaron Rodgers is playing the game, it really doesn't matter what the deficit is up until like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Dude is like a comeback machine too. Very, very exciting to watch. But yeah, he can't do it alone. And I think he's been carrying that team for, what does it say? Since they won the Super Bowl, everything, it's been a declining team around him since then. So interesting.
Yeah, he's been winning in spite of the rest of the team's mismanagement.
Now, and this doesn't always like happen like to where you can point this out, but it is shitty when you do well enough to overwhelmingly be the MVP of the league, but your team still can't make it to the big game. It does happen occasionally here and there where the MVP of the league's not in the Super Bowl, but it's always like that hurts too. I think him, he's like, hey, obviously, by this title I got, again, MVP of the league, I think I'm doing pretty well for the team, but here we are getting knocked out in the playoffs again. You know what I mean? So anyways, I will tell you this though. I thought this was, and I did yell at the TV when they had mentioned in the draft that there was a lot of people there for the first time, everybody in person. It's mostly outdoor where a lot of people were congregating. They had mentioned they're all fully vaccinated, right? And yet they're all still wearing masks. That's interesting to me.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because of the CDC guidelines, or do you think it's because like of NFL rules?
I honestly think from why they were doing it there, it was an NFL image, like
a PR thing.
100%. I see, but it was interesting to me because I was like, okay, so everybody's vaccinated. Like, I don't know how they verified that, first of all, but literally, I'm sure, whatever. Let's just take the scenario as true, right? Every fan member, every fan, every person, every personnel that's working for the NFL, everybody in this crowded outdoor area is fully vaccinated, but we're all wearing masks. That kind of leads me into talking about the CDC guidelines, because I think a lot of what the CDC is saying right now, people are taking as law, not really what comes right after CDC guideline. It's not necessarily, they're not, they're not creating the rule of law or federal law with this, but they're giving a suggestion. And obviously that was very puzzling to me. And the reason why I got a little bit upset about this and started sounding off, where Jamie got annoyed with me. She's like, why are you yelling so loud? I was like,
why is this firing you up so much?
Well, it's because I got my mask on and I can't. No, but it didn't make any sense to me, because from what I understand, and I could have things wrong. I'm not a virologist or whatever it is, but from my understanding, you take the vaccine, you're fully vaccinated. Two things are supposed to happen there medically for that person. You're supposed to be exponentially lower risk from even getting coronavirus. And if you do contract it, you're exponentially lower risk to being hospitalized.
Correct.
That's one. The other thing that's supposed to be the case too is you also are exponentially less likely to, because you're not really you're not able to get it as easily. You're not able to transmit the disease as easily. So you've got like a twofold thing that should make it to where people should feel a little bit more confident, I think, about taking off a mask outdoor with other people that are also fully vaccinated. That to me just kind of blew my mind. So I was sitting here watching that. I was like, no wonder. And take the Johnson & Johnson thing fucking just out. Just take that out completely about the scare. Because obviously that's going to drive down public demand of a vaccine that we talked about last week. I won't beat it up, but it's already record time coming out with it. Not really a lot of data, definitely no long-term data about what it does. And now potentially some short-term side effects that are scary to people. Sure, that's going to make people a little bit hesitant that are already on the fence to go get a vaccine, right? I totally get that. But the other thing in my mind that would push people over that hump is some kind of perceived reward for doing so, right? So everybody's thinking right now, like, hey, once we're fully vaccinated, then, the mask will come off eventually. Right. And I do understand, like, right now we're in a point in time to where there's still a lot of people that haven't been vaccinated. So there's still a lot of places that are having little surges or whatnot. There's some places that aren't. So I get all that from a national level. But again, going back to the NFL draft, I was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all. It makes no goddamn sense. And continuing to push the mask wearing, because they highlighted it too. It's like, hey, everybody's let's talk about the safety precautions for the NFL drafts, for first one back in person this year, blah 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 blah. Everybody's socially distancing and they're wearing masks and everybody's fully vaccinated. I was like, well, if you just started with the last one, you can erase the other two stupid things that you're fucking doing if everybody's literally fully vaccinated. Bob, I don't think you're nearly upset about this at all. I'm a little bit upset about it, because in my mind, where now is the motivation for people that are on the fence to feel like there is a reward, there is some kind of positive output for getting the vaccine?
Well, that's a lot to take in. So I was trying to listen and do my best.
You always do a good job.
first I'll kind of circle to the event. I 100% agree with you that it was all PR. And I think it was the NFL kind of doing their part to show that they're still wearing masks, they're following the guidelines, because a lot of people follow the NFL, and they wanted to set the proper example. I don't think that it would have hurt anything if they didn't have their masks on for the people in there at the event. I think it would have hurt potentially the fallout from other people. Well, if the NFL's done wearing their masks, so am I. Right? I think there's a thing there. They may have been even asked to wear masks by the government to help with the message, so who knows? But I do think that with the CDC guidelines, I know that I don't know, a few weeks back, I guess it was now, that the CDC said, if you're at a family event, I think it was before Easter, and you're all vaccinated, it's okay to not wear masks inside. Right. And I've done that sort of thing already, so that's kind of cool. So that's kind of the thinking of why, if everyone was vaccinated, I would say that, them all getting together, it wouldn't be a big deal, but the PR is, because, again, just the diversity of the people, the diversity of the people that follow the NFL, right?
Yeah, sure.
There's millions of those that are already reluctant to wear masks or won't get the vaccine or whatever. So there's that part of it. Now, on the other side of it, it's very interesting that the CDC said that you can now not wear your mask outside. So when El Jefe came out in his mask and said that, you don't have to wear your mask outside, and he took his mask off and then he left it off, like, to prove a point to everyone. Right. And then he was even asked, like, well, hey, why'd you wear your mask out here? And he said, well, no, he said, like, with his Ray-Bans on, like a he said, I wanted you to see me take it off and leave it off. Right.
Yeah. He does, it's funny that you say that too, because sometimes when he's out there just, having a good time, casual Joe Biden, he looks like an extra for Top Gun, kind of, you know what I mean? So there's that.
Yeah, or he looks like the Where Are They Now? Like he was actually on it, right? But it's like years later, like him and Tom Skerritt hanging out, like reminiscing.
Where is Goose now?
So the interesting thing, kind of tying in personally, is Daring's been doing baseball tryouts. So
cool.
Positive thoughts for Daring. Hopefully, he's able to make the team. I guess they'll find out next week. But
I'll throw in a go get him slugger. Huh?
That's right.
You like that?
The interesting thing, though, for me is I was there with Jadzia, and we were waiting for him to pick him up after practice. And I'm running around, and obviously she's 4, so I had her put her mask on. We weren't around anyone. There wasn't very many people there. But I walked out, and I had my mask in my pocket in case I got close to people or whatever. But I didn't have my mask in my pocket. And I didn't wear the mask. I was holding her hand, running around. We were in the bleachers. We're hanging out.
Felt nice, didn't it?
It felt eerily familiar, right? And
I don't know if I should be doing this, but it feels good.
The time before, even at his first practice, I came there early to pick him up, and I'm waiting for him. And I just gotten back from Costco. That's where I went while he was doing his practice. And I came back and I had the tub of pork rinds. I had a case of waters and a bag of oranges. So I'm sitting there eating orange slices and pork rinds in the car, like watching him. And I'm just like, this is like the most normal thing I've done in like a year.
Yeah.
This is epic. Right. So just the whole normal feeling of a good old fashioned baseball practice was pretty awesome. And then running around with Jadzia in the bleachers, we're just kind of hanging out in empty bleachers, but just not wearing the mask and being out. It was really a welcome, normal thing. So I don't know where we're at percentage-wise of the country, but I really hope we can get to that 70%, get our herd immunity on, and get back to normal.
Yeah, well,
it feels like it's right there.
And here's the thing too. I'm also, because this is the thing with me. Like, and you had mentioned, it's like I had a mask. I didn't wear it in case I get close to anybody, and it's kind of for consideration for other people,
right?
Especially during the height of the pandemic. I get that. Now, in that specific example, though, I'm talking about you personally and how are you protected or not? Or are you putting anybody in danger? You're fully vaccinated. So if you're out, especially outdoors, that blows my mind. But if you're outdoors and you're even getting closer to people, just tell them, hey, dude, if you guys are anxious, I'm fully vaxxed. So don't fucking worry about it. Because if I breathe on you, it's almost going to be harder for you to fucking get the coronavirus than win the goddamn lottery at this point right now.
And I can explain that. Personally, I knew there was like nil danger that I would present to anyone. Right.
Yeah.
It was more about their perception
exactly
of the risk, or then it was me willing to just help ease their mind about it. Because like, how are they know? I could just be a hardcore Trumper, and I'm just like, fuck masks.
Nobody would really know. And you're all, I'm sweating right now with COVID, and I'm just coming here to get everybody sick.
Like I don't wear a mask.
I can't taste anything. It's like,
are those pork rinds good? How would I know? So that's why I took the mask, and not because I knew that, I was worried about anyone. I just didn't want them to have to worry. Like, look at this asshole walking right up to me with no mask.
Well, see, and this is my other thing. This is a social thinking right now that I think is pretty interesting, because that makes total sense, right? People are a little anxious if people aren't wearing masks still. But in my mind, from my understanding, there's over 50% of all adult Americans that at least have one shot of vaccine, over 50% right now. Fully vaccinated, I think it's like 30-40%, somewhere in that realm. But still, where do we need to get for people to actually feel, I think, reality based, in the sense of like, hey, I would say this, a month out from now, because they've already, like what we talked about a couple of weeks ago is 180 in Colorado with the difficulty of finding a vaccine appointment. They don't even require vaccine appointments anymore at all the walk-up ones, all the drive-through ones here. It's like, just come get your vaccine if you fucking want it. Right. My point is we're getting to a pretty critical point right now. And I would say I'd say probably end of May, people that want to get a vaccine will have gotten it or have it scheduled by then. That's just the way it is. So if we're teetering at like 60 something percent of people, and everybody's already free flowing, been able to get the vaccine or schedule it, and the people that don't want to get it, they just don't want to get it. What they're doing when they say, I don't want to get it at this point, is I'm okay. I'm accepting the risk to me and my family, right? Because if there's some crazy variants out there and all these people that chose to get vaccinated, I'm just going to say it again. If you're fully vaccinated, just go ahead and take off your mask. I mean, I'm not saying go into Costco and just fucking boycott and like say, I'm not wearing a mask because I'm fully vaccinated. But at the same time, I think the understanding that it's normal practice now to suit up and mask up everywhere you go needs to stop. It needs to stop at some point, because I'm also thinking to myself, when the CDC, again, I got extremely upset at the TV when I heard, hey, the CDC now says check it out, guys, you now can take off your mask outdoors in small groups of people. It just kept getting shittier and shittier. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, dude, 6 months ago, I was outside in small groups with no mask because it was windy. You know what I mean? I was like, no, but there's no super spreader outdoors, like with a small group of people, like regardless of where we're at in the nature of the pandemic. So it just really, to me, I was like, dude, oh my God, it's like the paradigm shift that we had and how we wear masks everywhere and everything. Is there literally have to be like 0 cases of coronavirus worldwide before like we finally rip the Band-Aid off and say, hey, let's go back to normal? Or is that never going to happen? Are we literally going to be like China now moving forward, to where there's a faction of fucking scared shitless people all the time that are always wearing masks?
So a couple of things for that. China, it's required. So there's certain parts of China that's very heavily populated. They require masks. So
that's fucking shitty.
Yeah. So when
another reason not to live in China.
When there's super densely populated areas of China, there are parts of like downtown and shit like that, subways, things like that, where they do require their people to wear masks. That's just how you have to commute or whatever. So there might be some of that. I don't think it would be government mandated on our part, but I do think that you're going to see people wear masks willingly in some areas, just kind of moving forward. Just out of their own personal risk management and risk tolerance and how they view things, and that's fine. I won't be that way, because I think it's good to get a little sick, just not epidemic sick. It's good
Right.
to stay current with what's going around so that you can, keep your immune system up to snuff. But I think that I think we're going to have to be around 70% of the U.S. before like you really see just nationwide restrictions brought down. I do think we're still going to see travel restrictions from companies from countries that are still struggling and have a hard time, because there's still people in places that don't have the resources for their governments to get these vaccines, and they're going to be last to get them, right? Just because their country's poor and the other richer companies are going to beat them to the punch, unless you see like a UN effort to really help these poorer countries, which might happen. But I think going forward here in the next couple of months, we're going to creep up to that 70%-ish area, and you're going to see all the stuff go down internally in America, but then you're still going to see the travel restrictions as we're seeing now with India.
Well, yeah, and that's good. I mean, I don't want to get too far into this because it could create another longer conversation, but it is funny when Trump stops travel to China, he's a xenophobe and a racist. But when Biden does it to India, he's just being careful. Like it's night and day with that, but that's another conversation. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to 70% by vaccinations, though. I think we're going to get by 70% by just people contracting the virus, combined with, let's call it 60% max, I think, vaccination, which is fine. However we got to get there, we'll get there. You know what I mean?
Plus, it is what it is. I mean, we're not requiring vaccinations. So in the end, we get to where we get. If we get to 68% vaxxed people, that's just where we get. And if that's the end, then that's the end. We'll have to take what we can get, and the other people have to, the unvaxxed people and the spreading, events or whatever that may happen with the unvaccinated people will happen, and that's just kind of what's going to happen, and that's the risk that was accepted, as you had mentioned earlier, and we'll just move forward. So, all we can do is just kind of wait at this point to see where the numbers end up.
Yeah, no, and that's totally fine. I really have a hard time with the CDC. I think because here's what I think. If they're concerned about vaccinating the country, I think their play to come out with this really lackluster, flimsy update that people are supposed to be happy about, that they can not take their mask off outside with small groups of people. I was like, that's bullshit. If they came out and said, and this is just my speculation, they came out and said, hey, you know what? You're fully vaccinated. Ditch the fucking mask at all outside. Just ditch it. Large group of people that are fully vaxxed, fucking dude, butt fuck each other. Who cares? Don't wear a mask. Get it done. And here's what would happen though with that tone.
I'm fully vaxxed.
I knew that would perk you up, but no. But my point is I bet you would see a sharp rise in demand for the vaccine if the CDC would have came out with something more real, something more positive. Yeah, something like, hey, why the fuck are we all taking this experimental vaccine again? So I can take my mask off outside with my fucking wife and daughter or something? You're like, oh, thank God. Thank you, CDC. I think they really shit the bed there. And then they're complaining right after they do that. They're like, hey, you know what? These new mask guidelines are fantastic, guys. This is the best news that you've heard in over a year. Why are people not wanting this vaccine? I don't get it. It's just, it's very interesting, man. And I think until the CDC has a different tune when it comes to letting people get back to normal, you're having large corporations like Walmart and Costco and places like that, all the grocery store chains, they're going to have that fucking sign that says mask required until the CDC says otherwise. So it's kind of like, even though they're just guidelines, they kind of control the social aspect of how we live to that extent, which I think is pretty fucking weird.
And then the other weird is the weird part about it is that local municipalities and state governments in the end have their mandates and all that shit going on. So even if the CDC says whatever the fuck, if your governor still says that they're required or whatever, then it's just conflicting information, So people are gonna still wonder what to do. I mean, that's why I had my mask in my pocket. Also, I was like, I don't want some cop to roll by and be like, mask.
Yeah, and see, you're at that weird gray area right now where you don't know. You know what I mean? You're like, it'd be cool not to wear a mask, but I think I might still bring it with me because I don't know kind of what the feel is in this establishment or whatever it is, right? So it'll be interesting, man, because I don't know. To me, it was just a completely bullshit announcement from the CDC last week.
I like the whole thing you pointed out about it being a letdown, because they're like, the CDC says if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Really? Outside? Oh. in small groups. Oh, it just got worse and worse.
It keeps getting shadier. I'll tell you one thing they could have done, and they probably did. It could have been a great clickbait article. You know, the title CDC's no mask wearing, and then as you open up, it's like outside small groups of people.
Now, kind of like with the Vax passports. What if the death tones is just like, we'll have concerts again, but only for Vax people, and you have to prove it? Would you have a problem with that?
No. Not at all. In fact, and two reasons why. One, that's their prerogative. If they literally say, hey, we're going to have a show and we'll take your money, but you have to do this to come to the show, hey, that's fine. It's not unreasonable to say, hey, I don't want to potentially be a reason why we get back into like a COVID scare. You know what I mean? Because they don't do that at all. And something happens where there's just a bunch of unvaxxed people there. And
sick Deftone super spreader event kills thousands.
But again, here's the interesting thing to me. I don't have a problem with it. One, selfishly, I'll be fully vaccinated here, like within a couple of weeks. So when that concert happens on September 10th and September 11th, depending on whether you're in Albuquerque or Denver, I'll be ready to rock and roll. But the other thing is this: I honestly think at this point there really can't be in the United States any more super spreaders. There just can't. I'm just going to go out on a limb there because there are so many people that have natural antibodies from getting the disease, or there's still a large amount of people that are fully vaccinated. So if there is a pocket of unvaxxed people that started up, then all of a sudden they're going to hit the people that are vaxxed and it's going to fucking die right there again, meaning the spreading, the mass fiery spread.
And that's the idea of the 70% to get herd immunity.
Yeah. It's like the only people after a while, not even the unvaxxed people are going to reap the benefits of everybody else getting the disease and getting antibodies and everybody else that's fully vaccinated. The unvaxxed people right now are kind of like when you get in like, when you have to do group work in school and shit like that with like a group of like 4 or 5 people, they're kind of like the person that's sitting there not doing a fucking thing, knowing they're still going to get.
They're going to put their name on the report and they're going to get that A because you and some other brainiac had to work your ass off to get a good grade.
You're all listen, Doug. I noticed here that you didn't do a lick of work, but you were the first to grab the paper that we're turning in and you put your name at the top. So good fucking job there, really. But yeah, the same thing, dude. So when I thought that was interesting, because I was like, well, yeah, then the unvaxxed people was like, wait, no. If everybody else in this crowd of people, this mythical, or this simulation of or whatever, everybody's vaccinated. There's like 10 people that aren't vaxxed. That all of a sudden becomes a non-issue, like really quickly. Again,
because that virus keeps running into dead ends, right?
Yeah, you're like, I've already fucked this guy over. Like, let's go circle around. Yeah,
they're like, hey, I remember you. Oh, you lived, man.
I would be much happier to see, because damn well what would happen to CDC comes out and says something outrageous like, hey guys, guess what? You can even take off your fucking mask indoors now. Yeah. Crazy how we did this like a year and a half ago, like all the time. And but until that happens, we're not going to have all these major corporations actually drop this because, again, like you said, they want to look good public image wise, right? They want to look good for who's controlling right now most of the narrative in the media, which is the liberals. And the liberals kind of right now, if you're talking about tribes, what comes with your tribe as like part of your attire is your fucking face mask. If you're a liberal right now, vice versa, right? For conservatives, they've already burned their masks like their bras a long time ago. So that's all I got to say, man. I think it's time for a cocktail. What do you say?
It is. Let's go mix one up.
Oh, all right.
Hi.
Hey, how we doing there, Bobby? Now I noticed you just went ahead and brought the whole goddamn bottle in with you, didn't you?
I did.
All right.
I did it.
Look at that. Hornitos. Something like that, right?
It's Hornitos. So,
yeah.
And see, I don't know is there even an H in Spanish?
You got one of these?
I do.
There it is.
Boom, bam.
Nice little margarita. Hey, happy pre-Cinco de Mayo again.
Mm-hmm. So good. And Jess went ahead and made a picture of mojitos too. So,
Jesus Christ!
and I got some shots of tequila.
You're
I don't have
tuned
to.
out.
I graduated.
Yeah. So it's time to get back to full blown alcoholism. I like what you're up to over there, and I jest. But hey, why don't we do this? Because I brought it. Let's. You got one of these? You got one of these lined up?
I mean, not yet, but I can quickly remedy that.
I'll tell you, man. And I will tell you this too. Get the what is it? Añejo? Yeah. Get the Añejo tequila from Costco.
It's worth it. Add it to the bar.
And literally it's only like $21, and it's over a liter or something like that. It's not like 1.75, but it's a good amount. It's bigger than a fifth. But this is it made the margarita taste even better.
Nice.
So I'm gonna say.
I did have to say that this Hornitos is
Pretty on
solid.
point.
Yeah, it's solid. I can't complain about it. I'd never had it before.
Interesting. So here we go. You ready? Another shot.
No. I mean,
I'm just
got so much booze here. I gotta.
Oh yeah, he's gotta lick his hand.
I gotta lick my hand, dude. I mean, I got a method. Okay, now I'm ready. I'm ready.
Do you do this before you beat off too? Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, man. Barely needed. Barely. That aftertaste is good. And I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to church it up here. Almost out of every booze there is. And you know what? Again, to show how much we've grown as people and just have open minds. Do you remember way back when we ranked alcohols and gin was at the very bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no more.
It wouldn't be there at the bottom anymore. No,
it's not. Tequila is actually back at the bottom. If I think about how I like the taste of everything and what I can mix in it, tequila is a really good one. It's not necessarily something I like to go get myself a tequila on the rocks. Do you know what I mean? It's just not. But some gin with maybe like a squeeze of lime and like a little bit of soda water. Huh? You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
Yeah. It's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. These days, I don't know. It's great for mixers as is gin. If we're just drinking booze straight, I don't know, man. I think vodka is my least preferred straight booze.
I guess that makes sense. I've never found myself wanting to do shots of vodka with somebody. It's just, unless maybe it's like something like Belvedere or Grey Goose, I hardly ever mention having it straight. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, this is actually really good, high quality vodka. It doesn't taste bad horribly when you have it straight. Like most vodkas taste like,
whiskey and spiced rum are probably my favorites to just do shots of, and then tequila. Right. Yeah. So whiskey, spice, rum, tequila, as far as just taking shots. But then I also like rum is the other one. I don't want to do shots of rum.
Not unless it's a spice. It's interesting you brought that up. If I'm talking about, hey, let's do shots, my number one is Jägermeister. That's just me. You know what I mean? If I'm
Galliano.
Yeah,
it's swirly.
I haven't done that yet. In fact, I still need to re-up. We just got to pony up here pretty soon and just make it a Galliano fucking show. The entire show is Galliano.
You'll just see like the bottle stick up like that far in the screen because it's crazy.
Now, Bob, what's interesting here about the margarita, we've already done a margarita, but you know what? We haven't done one since last Cinco de Mayo, if I remember correctly, right?
Right.
So I think we're due time. And this is interesting too. You have margaritas a decent amount. I haven't busted out my margarita mix since last year. I had an unopened one I just opened up. I was like, Jesus Christ, this had dust all over it. I don't drink a lot of margaritas. You know what? And I had to put my finger on why. They're pretty high in calories. Maybe that's why. I just kind of don't make them a lot, but they're fucking tasty though. Don't get me wrong. And you can make the skinny margaritas too. Like they have like the margarita mix, like this low calorie or what have you too. I don't know how good it is. I've never had it. You ever had any experience there, man, or anything? Or?
No, I haven't had any of the low calorie margarita mix, but yeah. So the margaritas for me is it's take shots of tequila and have a couple margaritas, right? That's the thing. Because you're right, they're insane, dude. You might as well be drinking like Welch's grape juice and just like drinking cup after cup after cup. It's just not something that, you know, middle-aged folks need to be drinking.
Oh, I don't know about
like
you,
that.
but on a nice hot, summer day, about 100 degrees outside, nothing quite catches the palate like some warm grape juice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, and also too, I really like a frozen margarita, but it's a treat. It's something that you have one of, like when you're at, you know, like a vacation Mexican restaurant or something like that, right? You have a nice frozen margarita, and then you move on to something a little bit more stiff.
Always nice to get that practical joke sized cup to margarita, like the really big one, like poolside in Vegas. You're like, yeah, let me get that $25 iced margarita. That looks good. You know what I mean? But you're right. You normally don't have multiples of those.
I don't know if you've ever been to Elephant Butte, but I used to love the dam site margaritas down at the bar at the dam down there. So
Elephant Butte.
It's all day long in the sun, you know, doing this stuff, and then swing by the dam, you know, in the evening, grab a little bit of grub, and have a couple of those dam site margaritas. Fantastic.
Now, Bob, just kind of pivot a little bit here. I thought it was pretty interesting that I'm not gonna speak for you, but when I thought about Cinco de Mayo and what that signifies for Mexicans in general, we decided, like, hey, let's talk about the Mexican-American War, which I honestly thought they were maybe a little connected. You know what I mean? But they are not.
Right.
I didn't know this, but interesting stuff as I dip back into this. And I think you've had a little bit more recent studying on the subject for history in general, right? American history. I thought it was pretty interesting that, and again, I kind of knew this base level, but revisiting, Mexico's had a really shitty history as a country. They've been beat the fuck up and put under control numerous times by numerous different empires.
People really like the area.
Apparently so. And now, granted, I will say this: like northern Mexico is kind of like barren, nasty desert too. You know what I mean? So it's got to be the Panhandle. I'm saying it's got to be like the Cancun area or something like that, man. I don't know. Maybe the Baja area. I mean, what are your thoughts, man?
Baja and the Yucatan, and then all of southern Mexico too. It's just like heavily treed and forest and all that. So I'm pretty sure when all the shit was going down, it was basically from like the 1500s to the 1800s, right? Through the 1800s. There's a lot of gold there, man. A lot of precious metals. That's so true. It was the belle of the ball as far as that goes. And so, and Spain had the lockdown on all the gold because, they took over all the, mining operations and controlled all the land for a long time. Until Cinco de Mayo, right? Until the Mexican independence from Spain. And then the reason that the American one, really that, at least I wanted to talk about the Mexican-American War, is it's a war that really gets swept under the rug. Having grown up in Texas, you hear a lot of, Santa Anna, right? And the Texas side of the start of all that war, because of the Alamo. Remember the Alamo, the 287 people that got slaughtered. I think it was 200, maybe it was 187. Anyway, the last stand of the Alamo against the Mexican army, that was just this huge amount of...
The great thing is soldiers. I'm not even going to question you. I'm taking it out as you say 287 people, it's fucking 287 people. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just saying everything that you're saying today is fucking factual. No need to check it out. See what happens when you graduate?
That's right. I'll just take your word for it.
You're a college grad.
Look up the Alamo and see how many people that was. Maybe it was 187 or something like that. Okay. But either way, the thing is, it really gets overlooked because there's a lot of things going on politically that the Mexicans just kind of got brought in on. They had nothing to do with anything, right? They were just there doing the thing, and they owned everything from like all the way up through Utah and like Idaho, right? Yeah. Like they owned this huge chunk of the U.S. and they were just doing their thing, and no one really ever considered that. It was just, the Spanish territory, like whatever. But it wasn't until the politics started getting involved with, at the time, the Democrats running the South. and the Republicans running the North, right? And having vast differences in slaves or having slaves or not. And a couple of presidents in a row wanted to make sure that, the more slave states got introduced so that they could basically control Congress more and bend laws the slaveholders' way. And so they really wanted to get the Mexican land. So they basically started a war. Just decided to go take it because that's what Americans have always done.
Hey, I'm just surprised that, it would have happened a lot sooner if they would have had oil. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Gold is okay, but
we didn't need oil back then. Not yet. I mean, barely.
Right. But Texas is rich with it. Okay. So quick interjection here. I did do a quick fact check here, and man, there's a reason why I don't question you now. That's for damn sure. 189 Texans 189 Texans died. They all killed. Of course, those were the people defending it, but kind of like the old, Spartan type, scenario and stuff like that. There was an estimated 1,000 to 1,600 Mexican soldiers died trying to overtake the Alamo. So 1,600 max to 189. Pretty damn good job of those 189 Texans. Now, granted, they were all perished, but still not bad.
Well, and the interesting thing is everyone's like, oh, they're all Texans and, they're all white dudes. And no, actually, most of them were not white dudes.
Yeah, I believe they were mostly Nigerian, if I remember correctly.
So they're mostly Mexicans that were there, right? Tejados, right? Texas Mexicans is that
Tex-Mex. They're a little spicy.
Yeah, there's some Tex-Mex, poblano, but they said they were hot. but there of course was like some Americans that had migrated into Mexico, those undocumented immigrants, and they was causing problems. So they're down there, and so that was where they left at their final stand in the Alamo. But that drew all the Texans into the war, which then gave an opportunity for Americans to get into the war. And they were just really looking for a reason to fight Mexico because they wanted all that land. And that's what it boiled down to. And it was more for political reasons than it really was for natural resources, because at the time, there wasn't anything that they knew that was beneficial from owning that land. The gold rush hadn't even happened yet in California. So they didn't even know about that.
They're right there too, right? 1849,
right.
The right 1848, I think, is when the Mexican-American War ended. Which is really interesting too, if you think about it. I like the power play here by the United States, because it's literally like, no. Honestly, your border now is now going to be the Rio Grande. No. And they're like, no, actually, it's like 600 miles north, and like that takes over like all of California too. It's like, no, I think it's just going to be the Rio Grande. It's like, well, agree to disagree. It's like, well, we're going to fuck you up now. It's like, okay. And they're like, well, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and take the Rio Grande.
When Mexico was fighting Texas, there's wars, and Mexico could win those wars. Once the U.S., got involved in a war with Mexico, the war was over. It was just a formality at that point, because I hate to say that, because like many thousands of people died, in this violent war, but there was no standing up to the United States in a war at that time.
Well, and especially Mexico, because in all seriousness, the 1800s was a shitty century for them, dude. There were some big wins, right? Like 1810 or something like that. I think that's like actually Mexican independence from Spain the first time. You know what I mean? But then they're conquered by Spain again. They're conquered by France. And they're conquered, blah, 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 blah. But they're in shambles by the point they get to the time when they're bargaining essentially with the United States about land seizure. And I think the United States already knows, it's like, dude, even if they tried and they had exponentially more people, they're in shambles governmentally. You know what I mean? They could barely govern themselves. So yeah, I mean, that coupled with, the rising power and industrial power in general, of the United States, it was a recipe for nastiness. But yeah, they got their shit handed to them multiple times. I'm glad that I celebrate for them on the wrong day every single year on May 4th. You know what I mean? Or May 5th.
Yeah, because wasn't it actually in June?
Mexican, which one? The Independence?
Yeah, the Independence.
September, actually.
Oh, September. Okay.
Let's see. Mexican Cinco de Mayo is sometimes mistakenly for Mexico's Independence Day, the most important national holiday in Mexico, which is celebrated on September 16th, commemorating the Cry of Dolores, which in 1810 initiated the War of Mexican Independence from Spain.
Okay, so we just arbitrarily celebrate Cinco de Mayo as Mexican independence, like Christmas.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Because I think Jesus technically was probably born in August, I think they want to say. But you know what? That doesn't line up with overtaking like the biggest holiday time in the year, in the winter solstice, in the Jewish holidays, and all these other really fun things that happen right around December 25th. And they wanted to kind of capitalize on the already popularity of the time. So, but doesn't make sense for this, but I do think it's really fucking interesting. And I didn't know this until we were like researching for the show a little bit, that literally Cinco de Mayo was like, is not a big shit at all in Mexico, and only became popular here. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show in the 1980s, when a bunch of like beer companies decide like, hey, we need to capitalize on this shit. You know, there's some partying to be done. There's some booze to be bought. And like now is, you know, a good time, which is interesting to me because when we talk about holidays, number 2, I can't remember where I saw this, but I saw number 2 alcohol purchases is Cinco de Mayo, just behind.
Number 1's New Year's.
I want to say New Year's or St. Patrick's Day or something like that. But yeah, number 2 alcohol purchases for the United States is Cinco de Mayo. So that's how many Americans like to get trashed and, you know, beat their wife on Cinco de Mayo.
Well, and it's funny too, about how, you know, foreign countries will capitalize on America's drinking problem. Like with Oktoberfest, Cinco de Mayo, St. Patrick's Day. You know what I mean? You gotta get in there.
It's the same song and dance for St. Patrick's Day. It's not nearly bastardized like it is in the United States. In Ireland, they celebrate it, but it's like it's not even a big holiday there. So it's like the same parallel thing with Cinco de Mayo. Like
it's just like a recognition day. Yeah, we celebrate St. Patrick, you know, that he existed and whatever. Like we celebrate arbitrary days like, you know, fucking Columbus Day or some bullshit. You're like, oh yeah, Columbus Day. That's a reason to take off work and drink.
Right. Which they need to bring it back. I mean, I think they need to, you know, I'm not trying to say one thing or the other about validating Columbus, but a holiday is a holiday. You don't just take those away after you give them to us for 100 years.
Yeah. Honestly, I bet you in the next couple of years, Columbus Day gets replaced as a federal holiday and gets removed. And I bet you Juneteenth will become the new holiday, which I'm fine with. That's a very important day. But either way, I get a day off of work. And in the end, that's what we're all shooting for, right? If you're going to give us like 11 days off of work or whatever it is a year, and you're going to cut that down to 10, you're going to have to replace it.
Well, I mean, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here because I think they've kind of already found a replacement, and on the same day, a lot of other states have already done the Indigenous Peoples Day right, in lieu of Columbus Day. So I think they just dropped Columbus Day. Although the banks are hanging tough. You know, they're still like, no, Columbus Day is fucking legit. I don't care what you guys are saying. We're doing banker hours here, and we say when people go to work or not. And Christopher Columbus, you know, still important. Apparently.
Well, I'm all about Indigenous People Day. That's a legit day too.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be honest with you too. I don't want to get too much of the weeds here. I don't think a lot of people knew what Juneteenth was like more than a year or two ago. I think the vast majority of United States citizens had no fucking clue what Juneteenth was.
Well, and I didn't really know until I heard it and I looked into it and I was just like, oh, look.
Yeah.
So
interesting, right?
Slavery was ended. And then 2 years ago, somebody like, you know, told the slaves in Texas. It's like, that's guys, fucked up.
You can go now. He's like, you guys did not get the nationwide memo that went.
You guys didn't tell them. Texans are assholes. For real, dude.
Yeah. That'd be interesting stuff, man. But you know, again, kudos, cheers to our Mexican kin. Not only am I born and raised in New Mexico, which there's a large percentage of Mexicans there, obviously, right? But overall, I would say Cinco de Mayo is definitely a top celebratory holiday for me. I'll say that right now. Even with shitty years like this year when it lands on a goddamn Wednesday, still, I'm gonna be boozing it up Wednesday. You know what I mean?
Yep, and eating like tacos or enchiladas or something, right?
It really depends. You know, I'm glad you brought that up, Bob, because when I think about, go-to Mexican foods, I'm a huge taco fan. I'm a huge burrito fan. I'm a huge nachos fan. But I hate to kind of do this, but I want to say that like my favorite Mexican dish is not necessarily a Mexican dish. It's more of a new Mexican dish that differentiates it a little bit from its Mexican version. So I'm just going to say that when I usually celebrate and I'm going this theme, I usually have chili rellenos.
I love chili rellenos.
But
Yeah,
see,
because
the
in
way we
Mexico
know
they're
it,
made
though,
with poblanos.
yeah, and they're made a different style too. They're not. There's like two versions, and they're not always like the iconic, beer like battered and deep fried kind of deal on a green chili. Obviously, they be poblanos. They can have them that aren't deep fried without any of the breading on it. Interesting stuff, or the batter or whatnot. But that's probably my favorite. But if we're going like just flagship Mexican style, if we go to like, hey, are you a taco burrito kind of guy? I'm taco guy, and I'm street taco guy. That's right. I like the corn tortillas.
How about the birria tacos? Have you had those?
I don't think I have.
Okay, it's made with like this red chili kind of tangy sauce. It says red chili vinegar or whatever. It's a little bit tangy, and you dip your little street taco in the burrilla sauce. Right?
Ooh.
It's very, very good.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, you'll have to follow up, dude.
What about you?
As far as favorite Mexican?
Yeah.
Oh, that's close. I love chili rellenos. In fact, chili rellenos is my barometer for Mexican restaurants in New Mexico. So
100%.
when I go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm like, I want the chili relleno plate, and let me get a couple of tacos or whatever. But it's always the chili relleno plate, because then I can gauge for future use how good that New Mexican restaurant is for New Mexican food.
I do the same thing. I think that's I applaud you for that. I do the same thing. Even if I have to get one chili relleno a la carte on top of something else I really wanted, I still have to try it if I haven't been there.
So for here, and my money, I don't think chili relleno is necessarily my favorite New Mexican food or favorite Mexican food. I'm gonna have to lean towards enchiladas.
Wow.
I love a good enchilada.
Now, do you like them stacked or do you like them rolled?
So I like them rolled, right?
Good,
when I'm
good
paying for them. When I'm making them at home, I'll definitely take the shortcut and make the green chili chicken enchilada casserole, right? Mm-hmm. And do it like basically, New Mexican lasagna, right? Oh,
goddamn.
It's so much easier, resource wise to make that than it is to sit there for hours, trying to, or me keeping my wife company while she sits there for hours. Rolling enchiladas. So but the enchiladas are always my favorite. And then it's not just green chili chicken enchiladas. I like all kinds of different enchiladas, right? I like the beef enchiladas, the red chili beef enchiladas, name it, red, green, smothered, covered, Christmas. I love them all. And give it to me. Now I do have to like have a little twist. So, we spent the vast majority of our lives in New Mexico. And it's probably been a while since you've, perused the different Mexican restaurants and New Mexican restaurants in Albuquerque. But who wore it better? Like, who's your favorite?
For the chili relleno?
Just kind of in general, but I know that the chili relleno is a huge part of that.
Well, a couple of different restaurants here. I'm going to say the Range Cafe with the blue corn green chili chicken rellenos is quite bomb. Quite bomb. Now, if you're going to go to the original, you need to go to the one out in Bernalillo.
That's the one I live by. So.
Yeah. There's one on Wyoming and Montgomery too. That's Deese. But if you can make it out to Bernalillo, that's probably one of my favorite breakfast type restaurants too for New Mexican food. The others though, there's two other ones. Los Cuates is just bomb diggity. The chili relleno plate there is really good. I also a huge fan of Monroe's on Osuna.
Interesting. I haven't been there.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one. You should go check it out.
Los Cuates, of course, that's an Albuquerque staple. So, public service announcement: if you're coming to Albuquerque and you want some New Mexican food, you're not going to go wrong with Los Cuates.
No, dude, you get a Frank's combination plate if you want to just get a little bit frisky and try a little bit from everything, or you dial it in a little bit more.
And then that salsa, right?
Mm.
That sweetness, that
Mm.
that weirdness, that it's
So
just unique.
it's like a deep red kind of almost like a jelly salsa. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, Los Cuates is pretty amazing.
What about you?
Everyone raves about El Pinto.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's not my favorite. You're not gonna like waste your money by going there. I mean, it's good. I like Sadie's. I like getting down in the grind and getting in there, right? Sadie's is one of my favorite places to eat for New Mexican. Great chili rellenos. Just overall school New Mexican.
They got a fucking bang up fucking hot sauce too. Like both of their salsas are really, really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which you can buy by the gallon here at Costco.
Oh yeah, and I don't think you can get it by the gallon here at Costco, but they got Sadie's like everywhere up here too.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. That's a really good call.
Yeah, Sadie's is one of our favorite, and it takes like an overweight man to finish a plate at Sadie's. So if no one's been there, Sadie's is this crazy Mexican restaurant down in like the old part of Albuquerque, down 4th Street. And you go down there and they give you this plate, and it's just this huge plate with this mountain of food. Like you're taking half of this home, right? You just are. And if you finish it, you're not enjoying your ride home.
No, I was just gonna say too, if you finish it, you might be driving to the hospital too.
Yeah, because if you finish a plate of Sadie's, you've gone too far, you've taken it too far. No one needs to take it to that level. Just eat half of your food and take the rest home like a normal human, and you're gonna be okay. But yeah, I have finished a plate from Sadie's and I regretted it.
Yeah, well,
for hours. I'm like, oh my god.
When you finish your plate and you're still jamming in sopapillas with honey too,
that's the other thing about New Mexico. Is only eat half of your Mexican food and take the rest home, because you got to have room for like 3 or 4 sopapillas with honey. I mean,
you really do. If you don't, you're not really experiencing the it fully, which it's shame on you.
That's right. Eat the crunchy stuff, the tostadas, the tacos, because the rest will keep. And move on to the sopapillas, because they won't keep.
That's right.
Never the same.
Oh man, good stuff. Yeah, now I'm literally thinking about what I can have at the house here for lunch and dinner that both is Mexican themed.
Well, I was gonna do brats, but now I'm thinking fucking Uber Eats or whatever.
Seriously.
What are you gonna do? Because now you've got me thinking about the Range Cafe.
It's a good one. It's a really good one. Blue corn chili chicken enchiladas.
And I saw them on the menu the other day, and I was just like, I wonder if I should try the chicken fried steak, because I bet you it's so good. I haven't had it, but I bet it's good.
You're gonna have to get in there.
We love food. I'm surprised you're like not overweight.
Don't worry, my arteries are.
Don't worry. The inside is an obese man. I'm obese on the inside, and that's what counts.
I'm a fat man in a skinny man's body. That's for sure, with how I eat. Well, no, we've managed to do it now. We've managed to make my my mouth water and salivate with 2 endings of our shows, because we've dived into now how to have the most amazing steak, which I think we really outlined in the last episode. And now we're gonna give ourselves a little bit of gut rot and spend a few hours in the bathroom afterwards. You know what I mean?
So just a little wind down of what happened yesterday. So I don't know. I did graduate officially yesterday.
Big time, baby.
So I did all that, but the important thing after that, the important part of my graduation and the years that took was that I got Rudy's on the way home.
Oh my god! Now, if anybody's not from New Mexico, because they have Rudy's, I think in Texas, right?
It's from I want to say it's from New Braunfels, if I remember right. So it is a Texan barbecue, but unlike a lot of Texan barbecue, Rudy's is fucking hot.
Yeah, Rudy's is good, dude.
Like the Rudy's sauce, the regular Rudy's sauce. Have a drink. You better get your sweet tea ready, because it is spicy.
You go with sweet tea too, huh? Yeah.
You have to. You have to.
Not cutting out any diabetes.
No, you got to get in there. So we went there, right? And I'm just like, I want a half a pound of, turkey. I want a pound of pulled pork. Give me half a pound of brisket. Moist, right?
So what did everybody else eat?
Well, then I went in. So specifically, the treat that I got was Saturday. So Thursday through Sunday, they have prime rib.
Ooh.
So then I grabbed the prime rib. You got to get in there. And then the Rudy's beans, which is like the best fucking beans like ever, right? So we went there and we dropped some coin on the Rudy's and came home and just like barbecued it up. I'd been planning this for a week. That on the way home from graduation, I'm going to get Rudy's and I'm going to come home and I'm just going to beef out.
Did you get the meat sweats? Something I have to ask.
I didn't.
Okay.
I
didn't overdo it.
I was pretty conservative with it.
Good for you.
But it was so delicious, man. I can't believe I don't eat that more. It's probably a good thing, but yeah, I had to brag a little bit about my Rudy's adventure.
Nothing wrong with that, man. I know what you're gonna get for lunch now. You're like Uber Eats.
Oh yeah, I already had that. In fact, for breakfast this morning, I had a nice serving of Rudy's beans. That's how I got down. And for no one that knows, Rudy's beans are the most thick, mildly sweet, kind of mustardy, spicy but creeping spicy beans. But then they also take chunks of pork and turkey and beef, brisket and stuff, and they put it in there so it's subtle with the meat. And it's like those old West shows when they're all sitting down like, Cookie, what's for dinner? And he's like at the cauldron on the tripod above the fire, and he's stirring the pot of beans or whatever. It's basically Cookie's beans, right? Is how they do it. But they put a little twist on it, add a little spice to it. Amazing. So
I like what you did there. You literally just reached back to City Slickers because Cookie's the name of the cook that's like they gets all drunk or whatever. And like, good for you, Bob. Good for you reaching back to 1990. Fantastic.
My cinephilia goes deep. So yeah, that's it. Again, I did finish up. So if anyone was wondering, I am a college grad right now, ish, sort of. I do have a degree, but the important thing is I get 4 months off of school before I start again.
Dude, better late than never. Much deserved time off. You're already a busy man that's got a family. I think you're doing good there. I think good things. Congratulations, by the way. I told you virtually before, but I need to tell everybody now that I'm documented and recorded telling you congratulations. You can't say that I didn't say that.
There's no going back now. I'm gonna edit this out.
Well, guys, I think we're about done. I can't wait for next week's show, though. It's going to be really fun. And the week after that. We got some really fun stuff lined up. I'm not going to give too much away, but things are really going up a notch here at the Stiff Truth. TST, baby.
That's the way we like it. Well, thanks, everyone, for listening to us. It's been a journey. I mean, we're cruising along in our episodes, and it's just every show seems to be more comfortable and more on brand than the show before. So it's just we're in an exciting place at the Stiff Truth.
This is true. I almost like you now. You know what I mean?
Almost.
So it's taken a while. Like we still need to drink heavily for me to be around you for more than 25 minutes. But hey, we're improving, right?
Luckily, though, you're an alcoholic, so
this is very true. But hey, guys, I echo what Bob said there. Don't forget, if you haven't already, check us out on all the platforms that you don't normally check us out on. So if you're a YouTuber, good for you. So when you're done watching our show and checking out some random shit that Jake Paul's doing, go ahead and check us out on Spotify or maybe Apple Podcasts. I don't know. Get squirrely. Maybe even visit our Patreon and start donating. You know what I mean? That would kind of be pretty cool. But if not, I totally get it, guys. You know what I mean? That's all I really wanted to say. So
tell your friends, like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.